Time for hard options in Bangladesh. We all know that Joe Biden democratic dispensation had turned implacably hostile towards India, especially because of India's refusal to, spoil and cut off its relations with Russia during the Russia-Ukraine war. This is the war which Joe Biden wanted to fight a proxy war against Russia using Ukraine as a battering ram. And it had told us, you are with us or against us. And it had turned implacably hostile. In fact, the CIA of the United States, with the help of the ISI and the Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh, had staged a colored revolution in Dhaka. They had staged a Maidan coup and, deposed the legitimately elected government of Hasina Wajid, the duly elected government in Bangladesh. And then they had unleashed a program to jihadize and Islamize Bangladesh. They had very deliberately set upon to turn the clock back and make Bangladesh a free and independent nation state that had come out via a vicious independence struggle against a genocidal Pakistani army. They wanted to convert it back into East Pakistan. This is one of the rare instances in the global history where a country which has been colonized, looted, raped, has tried to go back and become a part of the colony of West Punjab once again. It is unprecedented. The attitude of the Muhammad Yunus government towards India was implacably hostile. Muhammad Yunus, as we all know, was the darling of the democratic dispensation in Washington. He had been parachuted from Washington straight into Dhaka to take charge as the caretaker Prime Minister of Bangladesh. He had won no election. He had no legitimacy whatsoever, except that he had come to power on the shoulders of an engineered coup in Bangladesh, an illegal coup in Bangladesh. Let's not forget that as per the Bangladeshi constitution, Hasina Wajid is still the Prime Minister, the acting Prime Minister of Bangladesh, because as per the Bangladeshi constitution, till a legitimate alternative arrangements are made, she is to continue as the caretaker Prime Minister, despite the coup. We all thought that Muhammad Yunus was at least an educated person and he would try and do well by the economy of Bangladesh. We soon realized to our horror that he was just a puppet in the hands of the jihadi student cabal that had taken charge in Bangladesh. They were trying to get the Razakars back into power, the Razakars who had provided women to the Pakistan army, Bengali women to the Pakistan army during the liberation struggle, sided with the Pakistan army, killed their own people. Such traitors had been brought back into power, and there was a violent campaign to take away all symbols of the freedom movement of Bangladesh. Like I said, it was an unabashed attempt to return Bangladesh to the status of a colony of West Punjab. We all know how the Pakistanis had looted Bangladesh, robbed it of all its resources, and then during the freedom struggle, the vicious crackdown, Operation Searchlight, launched by Lieutenant General Tikka Khan, called the Butcher of Bangladesh. They had raped 1 million Bengali women, killed 3 million Bangladeshis, and driven out 10 million Bangladeshis to rot as refugees in India. India had no option but to retaliate and send the refugees, create conditions to send the refugees back. So that is history. And what was Muhammad Yunus's claim to fame? that he had started the Grameen Bank, and then he had gone to the United States and become a darling of the democratic dispensation, that he had given $6 lakh. $6 lakh he had looted from the Grameen Bank, which was designed to provide micro loans to the farmers and fishermen, the poor farmers and fishermen of Bangladesh. This money he rerouted and he donated to Hillary Clinton's election campaign when she was fighting against Donald Trump. A fact that Donald Trump hasn't quite forgotten or forgiven. So he came on the shoulders of the American-inspired coup, the CIA-inspired colored revolution in Bangladesh, which had been conducted with the help of the ISI and the Jamaat-e-Islami, which had infiltrated every single students' union in Bangladesh. So the rest, as we all know, is history. This regime took charge. We had thought that they would, Muhammad Yunus, being an educated man, would not allow the jihadization of Bangladesh, but he was a helpless puppet in the hands of the student leaders. And he has thereafter invited Pakistan's ISI to come and deliver shiploads of weapons to be supplied to the insurgents in India's northeast, as had been done earlier in the times of the coup in Bangladesh, military coups in Bangladesh. They invited Pakistani army officers to come and tour the Rangpur district bordering the sensitive Siliguri corridor. You know, they have done everything possible. It is to the great sorrow of Muhammad Yunus that Joe Biden got kicked out in the elections in the United States, and Donald Trump, who took charge, is implacably hostile to Bangladesh. In fact, he had said, I don't know enough about Bangladesh and I leave Bangladesh to Prime Minister Modi. So this cut out all support of the Americans that was being so liberally provided. $6 billion had been set aside for George Soros to instigate, coups in Bangladesh and in India, dethrone legitimate governments in Bangladesh and in India. And all US aid which was being utilized to, propel these, so-called colored revolutions, all that has been stopped by the United States government, now in charge under Donald Trump. So, Muhammad Yunus had no option but to rely upon the jihadi street and recolonize Bangladesh, once again turn it to the colony, turn the clock back to restore East Pakistan. Like I said, this is the highest calumny that you could ever inflict upon your own country. Turn the freedom struggle back and return Bangladesh to the status of an exploited, raped, rapaciously looted colony of West Pakistan. Muhammad Yunus suddenly realized that the game was up as far as American support to his illegitimate regime was concerned. Therefore, he now made a quick switch around and he decided to visit China. He decided to seek China's support and turn China, his Bangladesh, into a colony of China, more or less. He wanted to invite the Belt Road Initiative, not realizing that this Belt Road Initiative has beggared Pakistan, reduced it to the status of a pariah state. That same had beggared the people of Sri Lanka and ruined the economy of Myanmar. Now he went all the way to Beijing to genuflect before Xi Jinping and to invite him. And he made some rather idiotic remarks while in Beijing. He said, he alluded to India's 7 sisters as landlocked states, and he said Bangladesh rules the seas, Bangladesh, lords over the Bay of Bengal. I mean, this man is, we thought, an educated person, but he suffers from some delusions of grandeur, right? And he virtually invited China to take charge of the seven sisters of Bangladesh. This was a most hostile remark. But Muhammad Yunus went even further. He asked China to create an air base in Lal Munir Hat in the Rangpur district, bordering the most sensitive Siliguri corridor, the 22 millimeter wide chicken's neck, you see, long chicken's neck, which is a very strategically sensitive corridor that links India to her northeastern states. This man invited the Chinese to build an air base to be able to strike the Siliguri corridor, and the subcontract for this base was given to a Pakistani firm. He wants to base the Barkatyar drones that he has purchased from Turkey in this air base at Lal Munir Hat. This is an unacceptable affront to India's national security interest. This is a most hostile act that cannot be countenanced. Action will have to be taken. This man will have to be stopped in his tracks before he does any further damage to Indian security. So far, we have been treating Bangladesh with kid gloves. Especially during the tenure of Hasina Wajed, we had been very indulgent towards Bangladesh because she was very supportive, mindful of India's national security interests, and we had gone out of the way to help Bangladesh. But with the coming of Muhammad Yunus and his most hostile anti-Indian agenda, this can no longer be countenanced, and India will now be forced to examine the hard options. So far, we've only been using carrots to try and entice these people, to try and win over the people of Bangladesh, and especially in the times of Hasina Wajed, we've gone out of the way to be friendly. But if he is going to be making these kind of irredentist claims and actions to harm India's national security, then that cannot be tolerated. From a functional government, this man has reduced Bangladesh to anarchy, to mob violence, to lynch mobs that are been continually roaming the streets. The Bangladesh police has thrown up its hands. We can't control law and order, and the Bangladesh army has now been given magisterial powers to control law and order in Bangladesh, because the country is spinning, careening out of control, led by the jihadi mobs. And these student mobs, they first tried to get a coup done within the Bangladesh army, and when that failed, they were trying to attack the cantonment of the Bangladesh army in Dhaka. It is fortunate that the army chief Wakarul Zaman got wind of these plans, and he has deployed adequate number of troops in Dhaka to safeguard against such an eventuality. But the point at issue is that if jihadi mobs can threaten to attack India and take over West Bengal, take over Bihar, take over Odisha, and make grandiose plans to hand over the seven sisters, the seven states of India's northeast to China, then I'm afraid he is asking for trouble. And we will have to take action. We will have to graduate from carrots, and we will have to use appropriate sticks to rein in the mad regime in Dhaka. The regime gone berserk, which is seeding jihadi chaos and anarchy not only in Bangladesh but planning to export jihad to the whole South Asian region. That cannot be countenanced, that cannot be accepted. So, as we are all aware, the world has changed ever since Donald Trump took charge. Donald Trump is threatening to make Canada the 51st state of the United States. Donald Trump is threatening to take over Greenland. to safeguard America's national security interests in terms of air bases, radars, over the horizon radars, and control of the Arctic, which has now been, with the glacier melt, now been open to shipping. He is threatening to take over Panama Canal. So if the United States can do that, I think India is equally justified in safeguarding its vital national interests and national security. So what are the hard options that India has? Firstly, let's talk of the Siliguri corridor and the Lal Munir Haat air base that Bangladesh has asked China to make in the Rangpur district, bordering the sensitive Siliguri corridor. India can easily turn this so-called chicken's neck into an elephant's neck by simply taking over the Rangpur district that sticks out like a sore thumb towards the Siliguri corridor. We can cut off and straighten the Bangladesh northern border by taking over the Rangpur district which borders the Siliguri corridor. For this, India's 17th Strike Corps, the Mountain Strike Corps, is based in Panagarh in West Bengal, just on the borders of Rangpur. And from there, this Strike Corps can hit out across the border whenever orders are given by the Indian government, and within a matter of 1 to 3 days, at the most, 3 days at the outermost limit. I don't think it should take more than a day for the Strike Corps to finish the liberation of Rangpur. Flatten out this thumb, cut off this sore thumb, and turn the chicken's neck in the Siliguri corridor into a strong elephant's neck, and once and for all remove the threat of our connectivity to the Seven Sisters in the northeast. This could easily be done. If we don't want to use the Strike Corps or a regular formation, and frankly I see no reason why India should desist. There is no nuclear threshold with Bangladesh as there is with Pakistan, of which we have to be mindful before we escalate fully to the conventional war level. Bangladesh, there are no such problems. It can be dealt with in a day. Like I said, maximum 3 days, we should secure control of the entire Rangpur district and remove the threat to the Siliguri corridor once and for all. India can even try the Wagner option in case we have any sensitivities or any squeamishness about using hard military options. The world we will be fully justified in the eyes of the world in taking strong military action. So this is as far as the Siliguri corridor is concerned. Either an all-out offensive by India's 17th Strike Corps, and don't forget we have the Rafale squadron in the east which can make mincemeat of the Chinese F-7 style fighters, the MiG-21 equivalents that they have purchased from China, most of which are not flying. Half of their radars are not functional. They are cribbing like hell that this is the most useless piece of equipment that they have, and we will make mincemeat out of this and the Barkatyar drones, etc., with our Rafales and all our modern fighter jets which are based in Hashimara and Tezpur, etc. Like I said, we could make mincemeat out of the Bangladeshi Air Force and the Bangladesh Army. The whole Rangpur operation would be over in 1 to 3 days. That is the outermost limit of that operation. Now, the amazing fact is that Bangladesh seems to be blissfully unaware that it has its own Siliguri corridor equivalent, its own chicken's neck in the Chittagong hill tracts. A narrow sliver of territory is all that joins the Chittagong hill tracts with the rest of Bangladesh. And in fact, in 1947, this area is largely dominated by Hindus, by the Chakma Buddhist tribes and other minorities, and it should have rightly been part of India, but it had been handed over to Pakistan, East Pakistan then, right? We should we can easily take it back if we want, using just a division. Even less than a division would suffice to slice off the whole of this and make a greater Tripura in the northeast, cut off the entire Chittagong hill tracts and cut off the port of Chittagong from Bangladesh. And I think this now needs to be done. If India doesn't want to do it directly, then we have the Arakan National Army, which is closely aligned with India. They had driven out the Rohingya refugees from the Rakhine belt in Myanmar, bordering Myanmar. They have taken charge of the entire border with Bangladesh. They have taken over the St. Martin's Island. So they are a very strong military force which has given hell to the Myanmar army. And the Bangladesh army is dead scared, deathly scared of the capabilities, military capabilities of the Arakan National Army. Bangladesh had been planning, with the help of the ISI, to arm the Rohingya refugees, send them back to fight the Arakan National Army, and the Arakan National Army has threatened them, should they dare do that, they will walk into the Chittagong hill tracts and take them over. And I think it would be very much in India's national interest if they come and take it over. Like I said, they can be India's Wagners and take over this entire region. So, if Bangladesh does not mend its ways urgently, there's very little time left for Bangladesh. They have been unduly hostile and inimical towards India, and it's about time that we paid them back in their own coin. Their economy is heading for ruin. They have chosen jihadi violence over economic prosperity, which they had in plenty in Hasina Wajid's regime. They were their ready-made garments industries, they were exporting huge amounts to the United States and Europe, and the Bangladesh economy was prospering because of that. But Muhammad Yunus and his jihadi gangs have chosen to jihadize Bangladesh. They are not interested in a prosperous Bangladesh. They have chosen jihadi, anarchy, chaos and violence over economic prosperity and peace. And if that should continue, India should hit back, take away the Rangpur thumb, secure our Siliguri corridor in the northeast, and also cut off Bangladesh's chicken's neck in the Chittagong hill tracts. Take over the Chittagong hill port, the port of Chittagong, and let that be the outlet of the northeast towards the Bay of Bengal, in addition of course to the Kolkata port and the Kaladin port that we are developing in Myanmar. So all these worries that Muhammad Yunus had about India's landlocked northeastern states can be well taken care of, and we are fully justified now in paying back Bangladesh in the same coin. I think this will have to be done in our larger national interests. Thank you.